Today, we are so happy to be joined by Hansel Bauman, an expert in the field of architecture and speaker that's going to be arriving at our upcoming event, Absolutely Accessible Kent. So, Hansel, it's really great to see you today.
Yeah, great. Thank you for the invitation. I'm excited to be a part of the event for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about your work and how did you first get involved with architecture?
Well, frankly, it's been kind of all I've ever wanted to do. I was one of those young kids who just never stopped playing with blocks and just kind of evolved from a childhood interest into a professional career. So I was really blessed that way.
Nice. That's great. And how long have you been practicing in the field so far?
Oh gosh, I have been practicing professionally since 1985.
Okay.
So it's been a few years.
And in that time, what's been like the highlight? Any great projects or things that you've been especially proud to have worked on?
Well, I've had kind of a very interesting career. Certainly, my work in deaf space has been a real highlight. I feel like it's made some really important segues into a bigger field, or I would say a much broader field now that I'm getting into more and more, is this idea of intersectional design, to where we're not only looking at the sensory disability of deafness, but how does that begin to play with or interact with other design needs for people across the spectrum of, be it age, abilities, identities, and orientations across the map. How do these very different ways we customarily think of as silos start to blend those together? And that there's work being done there that I'm doing with an organization out of New York City called Mixed Design, that we're really charting some new pathways there. I think will be is really exciting work.
Okay, interesting. And what are just some of like the common barriers to access that you normally encounter with things like hearing? Like, what are some challenges that are in our day-to-day environment?
Right. Well, I have to say, from my own perspective, being a hearing architect, what I'm seeing or witnessing is kind of what I'm sharing, or lessons and pretty incredible insights that come from the deaf community around ways in which they've really novels, almost sort of cultural traditions that deaf individuals find ways of reformatting or reconstructing the built environment to get around some things that you and I as hearing individuals would not really notice, be it the ways that doors open. So you might stop a sign language conversation to grab hold of a door and open a door. The change in one's gaze as they come up the stairs that takes your attention away from a conversation. Lighting, background, all the kind of ephemeral, kind of experiential aspects of architecture, the atmospheres, one way or another, are all barriers when they're not thought about. So those are ones that I find so fascinating, because many of us would overlook them.
Yeah, absolutely. And give us a little snapshot of what you're working on now. Any kind of current projects or things you're kind of looking at that you're excited about?
Yeah, well, the mixed design work that I had mentioned is one I find really exciting. We're working right now with Queens Museum in Queens, New York, working with them on a project that it's all about inclusive design practices that are engaging a whole host of different, a cohort of people with different abilities and identities, to get their input and quite literally have them be the initial designers of a number of design solutions that make that museum more of the community's museum. So we're kind of really a transformative project there. And that's kind of emblematic of some other work we're doing for a number of universities around the country right now. And then also working with one deaf school in the state of Washington, kind of applying similar ideas there as well. So we're really finding it's the idea of deaf space and how that impacts the broader idea of accessibility is really taking off.
Okay, excellent. And just to cap things off, what can we look forward to hearing about when you join us on June 9th? Obviously, you'll be telling us a little bit about Death Space, so maybe you can give us a little sneak preview at what you'll be presenting on.
Sure. Well, what I'd like to do is kind of share a bit of a history of Deaf Space and how it came about. Is like, Deaf Space has been around as long as there's been deaf people, right? So it's like our effort at Gallaudet, and something I was so privileged to be a part of, and working with others. There are some real thought leaders, including Dr. Ben Mahan and my brother Dirksen Bauman, to set up the initial Deaf Space project. And I want to share some thoughts around that and what some of the outcomes and how some of those innovations in that project had as much to do with engaging difference as it does around specifically those design ideas of Deaf Space. So I think there's a lot for architects to take away from those methodologies that we used. And then applying that, looking at some built work. So we've got some examples of some of the outcomes and lessons learned. That is always useful, not always what was great, but what did we learn? And then also getting into some lessons now about some of the more intersectional design work we're doing with Mix.
Okay, that sounds amazing. Well, we're very excited to hear from you real soon. Again, for folks listening, please join us on June 9th to hear more from Hansel. So Hansel, again, thanks so much for taking some time out of your afternoon to join us.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'm really looking forward to it. Looking forward to meeting you as well. And we'll see you soon.
All right. Take care. Thanks.
Great. You bet. Thanks, Nathan.